Okay, time for today's letter. As always, disclaimer, you can read it for yourself. I can't be bothered, but it's pretty straightforward, so you can see that. And we've got the official criteria. Again, fair use, etc. And we've got letter. Let's just close the other one. There we go. Okay. And we've got the official notes from Occupational English Test.org. So this is a very common one. You can get these, I think they still have it. These are still the case notes on the site. But yeah, right, it's on copyright. But again, fair use, teaching purposes. It's only to assess the writing. So there you go. So you've got the task. Referral, endocrinologist for a management, specialist for the management of sugar. Now we've got a sample. Now the reason we're going to take a look at this is because it just contains some interesting points that I want to make by way of comparison. So here we go. Now, thank you for seeing. Okay, Mrs. Sharma. Now we don't really need that. If you've got the DOB, right, we can work out the age. And retired. So if she's retired, what difference does it make what her previous occupation was? Is this going to have any bearing on the reader and their treatment of the patient? If the answer is no, get rid of it. It's that simple. Oops, I'll tell you what. Forgot to put some changes on. Let me do that now. Okay, so nothing to do with me. Get rid of it. Who complains? Why is it present simple? Who complains of what? She's complaining like every day. She's kind of moaning about it. Oh, my diabetes. You mean so? Who is complaining of, or simply who has uncontrolled sugar levels? Now, if you look at the sample, this purpose, and get my pencil, is pretty clear. This is what you've got to try and kind of do. Right. So, you can do thank you for seeing, diabetic, and you want me to manage a sugar. And then, at the bottom, restate your purpose, as the criteria says. Alright? So, that's one way. Or I'm writing to request your further management of Mrs. Sharma, whose blood sugar levels are uncontrolled, etc. Alright? So I would do something such as complains of diabetes for further management of the glucose. So I won't put who complains, or who is complaining, or who requires further management, or further management of the uncontrolled levels, etc. Okay. Now, here we can see it's kind of a history, a throwaway kind of sentence. It's like, what's it doing at the end of a visit? Now, if we look at the sample, we've got the history for paragraph 2. Now, for these non-urgent kind of cases where you've got a couple of visits, it's a good idea to put your history in paragraph 2, because then when I'm reading about this visit and that visit and this visit, blah, 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 it makes perfect sense because you've already told me, okay, what the score is. So she's had it since 1999. She monitors her levels at home, and she's got a family history of diabetes. That's useful. Her weight's, not too bad, and she's had an eye exam, and there were no issues there. So I would be tempted for this one to put the history paragraph 2, because there's quite a few things there, and that's going to inform everything that follows. Okay, so if we have a look at this here, complaining of uncontrolled diabetes. So Her examination was unremarkable. Yeah, but you've already told me what the complaint is. So you don't have to tell me that. Except for her blood sugar. So why didn't you just put that as part of the information? Now, if you look at the note, so she presented, I would put a name first, concerned, her sugar levels well controlled, and her BP was blah blah blah, right? So you can put all that information there. Alright, so presented, uncontrolled diabetes, her levels were 6 to 18. Alright, so you could put that in a single sentence if you want. Prescribed to her regular, no, so was prescribed or was added? Because you can't prescribe something to, your regular meds. You can add, but you can't prescribe to. So, she was prescribed, or so-and-so was prescribed, but not prescribed to. A little bit later, lab tests. Now, I wouldn't put that because that's more like case can notes. You are supposed to transform them into grammatically complete sentences. So don't use those signs out of the notes. Other tests including within normal ranges. Mrs. Sharma was commenced on the follow-up appointment after 2 weeks was. Alright, we don't really need this. Because it's like, you can simply say her test results kind of showed, but you don't have to say I arranged for an appointment in 2 weeks' time. Simply just like put Mrs. Sharma returned on the 27th, or you don't have to say I told her to come back in 2 weeks' time. Simply say 2 weeks later Mrs. Sharma returned and blah blah blah. You don't have to say I told her to come back in 2 weeks' time and I ordered some tests. That's not concise. All that you need to do is basically say she came back and her results at that time showed blah blah blah. You don't have to say I told her to come back and I ordered some blood tests. Some blood tests were advised. What does that mean? Advised by whom? You advised her, so you wouldn't advise her. So we don't even need this. Really, it's a waste of words. All you've got to do is say she came back after 2 weeks and her blood tests revealed blah blah blah. Okay, that's it. Again, if we look at the sample, right? So we've got the purpose is clear. Let's have a look. Right, purpose is clear, immediately apparent. Right. Thanks for seeing for management. Terms of content, right? It's good because we've got a history paragraph, right? So she's had it since 1999. She monitors her levels at home, family history, weight, and etc. Then we've got a chronology. Patient came, I did this. Patient came back, I did that. In view of this, blah blah blah, etc. That's it. That's all you need. That logic, right? So we don't really need to say that because that's, let's say it's a waste of words. Today, blood tests revealed high fasting sugar 16 plus, range, and then you've got this here. It's like a throwaway line. Why would you tell me she had a visit and this happened and this happened and visit? Oh, and by the way, she's had this since 1999. Wouldn't that be better to have that earlier in the document? Really? So this actually is a little bit short. This. And so we've got the purpose, so that could be reworked. Who complains? So history paragraph would work well for this one. So that fills me in, the reader, with the details. So, blood sugar level, okay. A lab test, okay. She came back, okay. Came back again. In view of the above, I would appreciate it if you could do, etc. Alright? So again, if we just compare this, so we've got the purpose, that's clear. History, so we've got a list of visits. So she came, blood tests showed, etc., etc. Okay, she came back. Now, I won't do this. And if you look at OET blog, it tells you that it's best to use the passive to put the patient or the treatment first. So these examples that they give you, they're not perfect, So OET says, don't actually do it like this. So Lipitor was prescribed and her regime was increased, because that's the important part of a sentence, that this was increased and this was happened, or she was advised, not I advised her, not I prescribed. Well, who else? So, you don't need active. I would change it into passive voice. Was prescribed, metformin was increased. Okay, because you will be using active. You can do it here. I'm writing to request your assessment of blah, blah, blah. I am referring her to you. I would appreciate it in view of the above. I would appreciate it if you could, etc., etc. So I usually put that appreciation thing at the bottom before the closing. In view of the above, I would appreciate your blah, blah, blah. And I'm writing to request. You can do thank you for kind of saying, well, to be as direct as possible. I'm writing to request your further management of Mrs. Priya Sharma, whose symptoms are blah, blah, blah. All right? So that's what you could do. And that would be quite direct and clear and to the point. Immediately apparent because, right? Quick and precise. If we look at this, quickly, efficiently, easily, immediately identifiable. Okay, then we've got accuracy, what does the audience need? Irrelevant, any information that could be omitted, how well the case is summarized. And again, these keywords, concise and clear communication, this, because of this, because of that. So anything that gets in the way of that, it's probably a good idea to omit. So, not too bad, not too bad. Some reorganization I would probably do, and rework that introduction, who complains of. Okay, it's not too bad. Again, we don't really need you to say, so it was recommended, so did she accept your recommendations? Did she accept your advice? It's like, why would you say, I recommended this and I advised that? Simply, she came back, her new tests, so that would work fine. You don't have to say after 2 weeks. Just say, today Mrs. Sharma returned with unchanging symptoms, blood test results revealed, and that would eliminate the need to include that. Okay, so not too bad, not too bad. I hope that helps.